Bonjour, je suis Koenraad PRINGIERS, basé au Sri Lanka depuis 39 ans et je suis CEO de Camso Loadstar au Sri Lanka qui fait partie du groupe Michelin. The situation in Sri Lanka currently is that we have 310 cumulative positive cases of the Covid-19. The first case was detected end of January and was a Chinese tourist. Most of the other cases so far have been imported cases, but in the recent days there have been some community transmission cases and the people in those areas have been quarantined. The whole country has been in lockdown since March 16th and under curfew from March 20th. Most industries except the essential services, including our own, have stopped production for a month and are since mid-April starting to operate again in limited capacity. The worst affected areas are the Colombo, Gampaha, Puttalam and Kalutra districts, which have the highest number of cases. There are several provinces that have had no positive cases or just a few, and the government has decided to lift the curfew in those since the beginning of this week during the daytime. For Colombo and the surrounding areas, the curfew has been extended until 27th of April. We do expect that the lifting in and around Colombo could be extended further or lifted with very strict conditions. With the economy at a standstill for over a month, the economic situation and outlook is not looking very positive. The main exporting earning industries have come to a standstill. With tourism, we have seen almost all the hotels close down completely. The garment industry, which is the highest foreign exchange earner for the country, has stopped completely, and most of their orders for the current seasons have been cancelled, as the retail markets in the US and Europe, which they mainly supply, have also been closed. They have tried to reorient their productions to making personal protective equipment such as masks to overcome this shortfall, but this is only in limited numbers. The government has acted swiftly when the crisis began by banning passenger flights from some impacted countries. Subsequently, they set up quarantine centers and sent all arriving passengers from heavily impacted countries to these centers for 2 weeks of quarantine. After the 16th of March, all incoming flights were banned and only flights out were allowed to repatriate the tourists. The curfew in most of the impacted districts have been in place continuously with no one allowed to leave their homes. The government has arranged food to be supplied to the houses of people. This has not been without its challenges, and while improving, it is still proving difficult logistically. The health service in the country does not have adequate testing facilities, test kits, PPEs to manage a more serious outbreak of the virus. So the approach has been to have the countrywide curfew in place. The government has set up a task force to handle the crisis, which is certainly managing the response to it. Various industries, including our own, had discussions with the task force in the last few weeks to restart our operations. The rubber industry was declared as an essential service, and we got our approval to restart with limited capacity middle of this month. Our industry has been represented and lobbied to the government by our industry association. The Board of Investment, under which most of the export industries operate, has been assigned a task to facilitate the restart of the export industries. This has again not been without its problems, such as the complexity of getting the permits for the employees and staff to report to work while the curfew is still on. The Port of Colombo has been operating with limited capacity, so thousands of import and export containers are still being processed and are clogging up the port. This is one of the main challenges to get the logistics moving and clearing the backlog for any industry to be able to ramp up again. As there is no government support to export companies to temporarily lay off employees or pay part salary, most companies are struggling to continue to pay salaries while they are not in operation. Another problem is that with the strict labor laws in place, it is not easy to lay off employees in a downturn situation like this. When restarting operations, the most important is to take care of the health and safety of your employees. It is important to implement all the necessary safety precautions needed to minimize the impact of the virus, such as measuring the temperature of all employees entering and leaving a site, implementing social distancing, hand washing, and wearing masks at all times. It is important to engage with your employees on these planned measures and spend adequate time on training and awareness. It is also important to engage early with the government institutions such as the BOI, the Board of Investment, and EDB, the Export Development Board, to get the permissions to operate and clear any other obstacles. For employee-related issues, it is advisable to contact the EFC, which is the Employers Federation, when looking at restructuring your business. It is also important to follow the laws in place when terminating employees and getting the approval from the Labour Commissioner when doing so.